Should you sell or should you refinance? That's what we're going to discuss, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips to really help give you the right direction on this one. So I had a property a couple of years ago we picked up, and it was an apartment building. Picked it up at a pretty decent deal, and got it for about a little under $400,000. And just recently we sold it close to $1 million because of the market, because of the way things were going. And people constantly ask me, what do I do? Should I sell? Should I refinance? What's the best approach? Now, the reason I sold is because I noticed we took it to the max. I mean, this was for right now anyway. It's easier to take a property in the beginning and double the value, right? It's harder once you've gotten that point. It's harder to, so if I got it up to $1 million, it's harder to get to double that. It's very easy to double in the beginning. It's easier, I should say. It's not very easy. So we chose to sell it. Now, if I knew there was more runway, I probably would have refinanced. If you have maxed out your property for the immediate future, right? I don't mean 10 years, 15 years down the road. Selling is not a terrible idea. And the reason I think it is because there's more opportunities. People that don't sell, I feel like they think it's the only deal they're going to get in their life. Like, why wouldn't you? There's so much other opportunity out there. Sell and move on, build the value, do the same steps. It's not that difficult, right? And so that's kind of my story there. I knew that it was going to be a little tougher to get the value to double again. Because after you've doubled your value, then what else are you trying to do? Like, what, double it and move on. That's kind of the rule of doubling everything you're doing. So if you need cash, you can sell or refinance, okay? Let's say you need $100,000 for a deal you're working on. Okay, you can refinance or you can sell your property. The difference is speed, right? If you need the cash in the next, 2 months, you can refinance much quicker. Selling sometimes can take a while. A retail property, an office building, sometimes it can take you a year to sell these things. It took me a year to sell a car wash. It just depends. How long are you willing to wait? If you need the cash immediately, you probably want to refinance quicker, right? Banks will give you, not always, but sometimes they'll speed the process up. On a purchase, it can be quicker, but finding the buyer. See, the bank gives you a refi, when they're refinancing the property for you, they know you already own it, so there's not as much urgency. The tricky part is finding the buyer. Now you got to list it. Who knows how long you're going to be on the market? Are you priced right? How much cash do you need? This is the kind of stuff you have to go through. So you can get cash both ways. You can refinance or sell. Now, never over leverage this stuff. And I know people tell you this all the time, cash is trash or whatever the crap you're hearing. Never over leverage. Avoid it at all costs. I don't even like going to 80%. I think that's dangerous. 70 is probably a little more my speed. Stay conservative with these things. There's no reason to go to 80, 90%. At that point, you should just sell. There's no reason to stop there. Because you got to keep in mind, when the market turns, and it will, it always does, the higher levered up you are, the easier it is to wipe you out. So if you're sitting even at 70%, even if you're not in a great spot, well, you're never going to have to worry about negative cash flow, redlining, any of that stuff. You're going to be somewhat safe and conservative. So if you are going to refinance, now if you definitely need the cash and you need that extra 10%, do it. But just be very careful. There's no reason to even get up to anywhere above that range most of the time. And finally, you shouldn't be doing any of these things except if you know what your plans are, right? So I like the idea of getting long-term debt at low interest. I love that. Maybe you bought the property 7 years ago and you can get better terms, better rate, maybe a 10-year rate, whatever the case is. Definitely secure good financing. That's a good reason to refinance. If you already have good terms, then I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. Like, what are you going to do with the money? I never sell unless I know what I'm doing. I don't like the idea of selling and just sitting on the cash, not knowing what to do. If you have something in mind, definitely. If you notice the property, it's going to be on the downswing, then yeah, definitely do that. But try to have a plan, an idea what you're going to do with it. Don't just sell or refinance. Don't just do any of this stuff. People are constantly asking, especially right now, hey, should we refinance? Should we refinance? Well, if you already refied 3 years ago, I mean, are the rates going to, I mean, maybe, yeah, you drop another point or two. But ask yourself about the value. Have you maximized, have you capitalized everything you can? Because if you don't leave a little meat on the bone for the next guy, I mean, that deal's not going to be as enticing, right? Because the person buying it is also going to want to increase their value. So you got to keep an eye on what you're doing there. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions on this.